On my home network, I'm going to be switching away from UniFi Wi-Fi 5 wireless access points to Grandstream Wi-Fi 7 and a Wi-Fi 6 access point that I have. And you may be wondering why I'm switching away from UniFi instead of to UniFi, since it seems like a lot of content creators are switching to UniFi. And I have a number of reasons why I am migrating everything over to Grandstream. And one reason is I like Grandstream's management options. They're very flexible and you can control them multiple different ways. You can log in directly through the web browser on each individual device, and you can control it with the GWN manager with a local software controller similar to UniFi products, so you can have that single pane of glass. So I like having that flexibility of being able to log into my devices, not worry about any adoption issues, or not being able to get in to be able to configure the devices. So everything can be done locally. And I want to also be able to control everything from a single software controller, because right now I'm using the GWN manager and the UniFi controller. So I like to be able to kind of get that down to one controller. And my wireless access points, like one of them is at least 8 years old, and I kind of want to get towards Wi-Fi 6 and 7, because sometime this year I might end up starting to actually have Wi-Fi 7 clients, like potentially my phone if I upgrade my phone this year in 2025. So I want to be able to get at least the Wi-Fi 6, but I like to get the Wi-Fi 7 just because more devices are supporting it. I'm still okay on Wi-Fi 5. When I went and looked at the UniFi controller, a lot of my devices are either using Wi-Fi 5 or Wi-Fi, some of them Wi-Fi 4. And I even have one IoT device that I use just for a sensor, and it's using Wi-Fi 3. Even switching over from Wi-Fi 5 to Wi-Fi 6, I can still get additional 200-300 megabits of throughput compared to some of my UniFi gear as well. I just wanted to mention as a couple reasons why I'm migrating over to Grandstream wireless access points. It's not necessarily that I hate UniFi products. I had a good experience with their wireless access points. But since I was already migrating over to newer Wi-Fi 6 and 7 access points, I thought I might as well just go with the same vendor and have that single pane of glass, just like using UniFi products. As a disclosure, I just wanted to let you know that I marked this video sponsored, even though I already featured one of these Wi-Fi 7 access points in previous videos. But I wanted to include it just so you know that one of them was sponsored, but I did buy a second one from Grandstream because I need one for upstairs and one for downstairs. And the Wi-Fi 6 access point I already had from years ago. So I'm going to use that in the storage room because it needs its own dedicated wireless access point, because it's just like a block concrete wall underneath the garage. So it has like concrete above it and all around it. So it's basically like a little bunker. So it just needs a little bit of just a basic Wi-Fi access point in there. I wanted to show an example of replacing one of the wireless access points of UniFi. I had to undo the locking clip and then disconnect the Ethernet cable and then unmount the plate that's on the ceiling. I have a beam that goes across because it goes across ductwork, so I can just drill right into it. But you might need some drywall anchors or something like that. And here's the Grandstream plate that I'm putting up on the ceiling. And I like the locking clips better on the Grandstream because it's easy just to twist it on and twist it off. And because with UniFi, you have to undo that locking clip, which can be difficult. When mounting to a wall box with the UniFi, I couldn't secure it very well because only one screw would fit. But with the Grandstream plate, there's 2 screw holes that actually fit perfectly across a wall box. So I was able to secure the Grandstream plate a lot better than the UniFi plate because it's larger and has the screw holes in the appropriate locations. I checked the temperature of the heatsink of the wireless access point, and it seems to be a reasonable temperature after it's been running for a little while. So I thought the migration from old wireless access points to new ones would be very smooth if I use the same SSID and the same password. And in theory, everything should just connect back in and just work. However, I decided to throw a wrench into that process. I didn't think it would be that big of a deal, but I wanted to enable PPSK. And so I was like, I wanted to get down to a single SSID, so I'm not broadcasting 4 SSIDs and using all that radio frequencies of those different radios at the same time. I thought that would be a responsible neighbor, so I'm not taking all of the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. And I thought even with just with my own network, there'd be a little bit less noise and interference with my own devices. And I really, I had 4 SSIDs with UniFi. I really was only mostly using a single one. And the other couple SSIDs are just for a couple different handful of devices. And it'll also give me more flexibility by switching to PPSK. I can put any device pretty much on any VLAN that I want. And instead of just being limited to 4 SSIDs, because my old UniFi access points are limited to 4. And plus, you don't really want to go much beyond like 3 or 4 anyway, because you're going to be overlapping with especially 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. So I liked having that flexibility. So that's one reason why I was like, I'm going to switch to PPSK. I did the switch, and most of my devices seemed to come back on, but I noticed on my phone things acted a little bit weird and strange. Later, I realized maybe I'll just disable MLO because it's enabled by default. I did that kind of troubleshooting, got most of my devices working again, and I even got the devices working on different networks. Then I came down to my last 2 devices I couldn't quite get to connect to the network again, and they both happened to be different lighting products. One was a Govee light floor lamp that I have, and another one was an Elgato Key Light Mini, which I use for when I do videos, so that I can light my face up a little bit more when I'm doing the webcam for screen captures. And I thought it was weird that both of those didn't connect, and it's kind of interesting because both of these products, the way you connect them to your Wi-Fi, you have to use, for Govee, you use the app, and you can connect via Bluetooth, and it sends the credentials over. You can type them in on the app and send them over, and then it would try to connect that way. But for the Elgato light, it has its own Wi-Fi hotspot, and you connect to it, and then your phone knows to send the Wi-Fi credentials over. So it's kind of like an auto configuration thing. Well, that didn't work very well. And I'm like, maybe it doesn't like the Wi-Fi 6 or 7 access point. So I was like, that's great. It could be an incompatibility. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with it. I was able to fix the Govee floor light first before I got to the Elgato light. And the way that I got to it was a weird, strange rabbit hole that I went down. And I was playing around with one of my N100 systems. I set Windows 11 up on it because on one of my videos, so I can test the Wi-Fi 7 access point of Grandstream and Ingenious. And I needed to use Windows because I didn't want to deal with configuring everything in Linux. So Windows 11 showed that I had 2 SSIDs named the same, but one was open. I was like, what? I have an open Wi-Fi access point, and I looked and checked my settings, and I don't have it configured that way. And I finally narrowed it down that in my server closet, that computer can reach my storage room because even though it's a block wall, it's right behind it in, maybe 10, 15 feet away from the access point that's in that storage room. And so it was trying to connect to that wireless access point. And for some reason, that wireless access point, the Wi-Fi 6 one, had an open SSID. And I didn't even realize it for a couple days because none of my other devices showed it. And so I found out that through looking at the firmware version, that had a really old firmware version. It's like, well, maybe I need to update that firmware version. I'll try that because maybe that Wi-Fi access point doesn't support PPSK. I'm like, great. I'm going to either have to swap that wireless access point out or with maybe the other one that I have, or maybe not do PPSK. So I updated the firmware of that Wi-Fi 6, the GWN 7660, and got it to the latest version. And fortunately, that open SSID went away. So the old version must not have supported PPSK, and they updated the firmware to support that feature, which is great. So that means even that older wireless access point, they added that feature in there, and everything worked great after that. So because I fixed that issue, I can now connect my Govee floor lamp to the wireless, because I was trying to put in the wireless password, and it was trying to connect to the open wireless access point in the storage room, because it was probably potentially the strongest signal from my server closet. Then I decided to try the Elgato light, and I tried to do it from my phone again, reset it, still didn't work. So now that I have a Windows 11 machine, I set up the Elgato software, and I decided to use the software app on Windows because I can't use the app on the phone unless it's already connected to Wi-Fi. So it's trying to do this auto configure thing, and it wasn't working. So I was like, I'll just use the app on Windows, and then it let me enter it in, the credentials, and it let me pick if I want 2.4 or 5 gigahertz. I found out that for some reason, it doesn't like the 5 gigahertz connection, so I just put it on 2.4 gigahertz, and it worked like a charm. So I'm not sure why it doesn't like the 5 gigahertz band, but that's why it wasn't connecting on from my phone, because it's probably defaulting to that 5 gigahertz band. So I finally got that connected back to my network. When I first set up these Wi-Fi 7 access points, I was having some performance issues where I was getting like half the speed of my Wi-Fi 5 access points, and I was like, what in the world? And so I was really puzzled by this, and I didn't want the slower speeds than what I already have, because I was like really disappointed by that. And after digging into it some more, I noticed when I was looking at the GWN Manager, they had the different channels listed for 5 gigahertz that are available. You can select, you can customize them, which ones you want to allow or not allow. So you can turn on and off those DFS channels, which are shared by radar, military, and that kind of thing. I noticed in the GWN Manager, it had less channels available in the upper 5 gigahertz frequency that was showing on my GWN 7670 web interface when I logged into that individual device. And so after playing around with it a little bit, I disabled a couple of those upper channels. So I'm using the same channels that it shows in the GWN Manager. And when I did that, it forced the wireless access point to use a different lower frequencies of the 5 gigahertz spectrum, and it seemed to resolve all of the performance issues because the access point is no longer using those really upper end channels. So I don't know if my phone, or my devices didn't like those upper frequencies, or when I was scanning for the available radio frequencies on my UniFi controller before switching over, I did notice there was a 20 megahertz band on the upper end that one of my neighbors had. It looked like I had it fully saturated, but it didn't show it saturated for the wider spectrum, when I was looking at it of the channel. So I wasn't sure like what's up with that, so maybe that was interfering with my wireless. So I wanted to mention that as a potential gotcha there, that you might need to tweak a little bit to see if you're having issues with performance. So a couple lessons learned from this experience is don't enable MLO, especially if you have a lot of legacy devices. They're all Wi-Fi 6 or under. And that might be better served in a separate SSID where you can enable MLO, and you can also enable WPA3, because if you do WPA2/WPA3, I read that could also cause problems with certain legacy devices that don't recognize WPA3 features. So you might need to make a separate SSID for newer, faster clients. So having that hybrid approach might be the way to go. And another thing is make sure that your firmware is up to date, because that's something I didn't check. And I thought I was more up to date than I was with my Wi-Fi 6 access point, but I use it just kind of for demonstrations in my videos. So it's been a while since I updated the firmware, and that's kind of my fault for not checking that. So I didn't realize that could be a consequence of not updating firmware, because PPSK is like a newer feature. This wouldn't normally happen for like the standard Wi-Fi features, but since PPSK was later added in, I believe, to the Grandstream APs, you need to have that firmware up to date to be able to take advantage of that feature. So a third lesson learned that might be good to implement is when you're creating an SSID with PPSK without radius, that you set a VLAN ID in there, because if you don't, and you encounter this situation that I did where I had an access point that didn't support PPSK, and it created an open wireless access point because it's provisioning that access point, and it didn't know how to handle PPSK, I guess. So it would default to whatever VLAN you have set in there. So if you don't have a VLAN set, it's going to default to VLAN 1 or your management VLAN that you have set for your wireless access point. So that could be very bad, because you could allow clients on your management network, no matter if it's just VLAN 1 untagged or you have VLAN 100 or whatever for your management VLAN. So that's kind of crazy to me. If you keep everything up to date, it shouldn't even be a problem in the first place. The good thing is, even if you put a default VLAN in there, if you're using different passwords for different users to put them on different VLANs, that functionality still works. You could even make out a black hole VLAN if you want, so then it doesn't allow any network access. So at least they're stuck there and they can't get to anything. That way, that's a good security feature to make sure as a fallback in case something crazy happens. So long story short, once I turned off MLO and I had my other wireless access point upgraded to the latest firmware, and I got my last 2 wireless lights connected back to the network, everything's been running great. Throughput has increased. I think range has even increased. I'm kind of curious to know if the range has increased because of the benefits of Wi-Fi 6. That's just kind of like, even with when I was learning UniFi wireless access points, I had to play around with it a lot to finally get it tuned and working how I want. Once I did that, I haven't really had to touch it since then. And so for years, I could just leave it running the same way. And so I feel like that's going to be the case with Grandstream. I might still play around with some of the things, especially with Wi-Fi 7 as I get new devices. But you have to kind of learn those ins and outs of products, especially with Wi-Fi. There's a lot of factors involved that can cause problems or different issues. And sometimes it's just your environment that you're living in. So I encourage you to test and try out and play around some things, because the settings that you use might work better for you than for me. And so it's hard to recommend the exact settings you should change, but I just wanted to mention what I had to do in case you have to do something similar. So until the next video, I'll catch you guys later.